Movies are meant for a place to escape real life from if you're going through something or if you just don't want to think about life. Project Hail Mary did that for me 100%. I've been going through it recently, just some personal stuff, some really hard-hitting stuff, emotionally, whatever. And Project Hail Mary came out, and I've talked about it on the channel before, and it is fantastic. Obviously, the book I've talked about in the trailers, and the trailer views are actually good. I mean, I did reaction videos. Both of them have like 1,000 views, which for my channel is great. And especially for this movie, got me really excited. And this movie just came out at a time where I just needed to get away for a few hours. And it happened. And it was fantastic. So let's get into it. Now, guys, if you haven't seen, I did review the book months ago. I read the book in one day on a cruise. And it is one of my favorite books of all time. And this movie was coming out, and I got really hyped for it, and I've been hyping it up forever. It's the same people who did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, 21 Jump Street, the Into the Spider-Verse films. I mean, these guys are great writers and great directors. Greg Fraser is the cinematographer, one of the best cinematographers of our time. Ryan Gosling, who his filmography is so slept on. I feel like he has one of the strongest filmographies of anyone in Hollywood right now. I mean, he has La La Land, First Man, this film, just so many other films he's done in the past 10 years. Obviously, you have the one actor that's not a real person, which is Rocky, and let's just get into it, guys. This film, for me, is fantastic. I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't know if it's bias, I don't know if it's what. I just went into this film with really high expectations and really high hope, and I feel like the movie paid that off and then some, and I was even surprised at how good it was. I'm just going to say it outright. This movie's a 10 across the board for me. Now, obviously, that might be a little biased because I really liked the book and I was really looking forward to it. But from what I wanted out of this film, genuinely, the main stuff they needed to adapt from the book, they adapted perfectly. Obviously, with any movie from book adaptation, they're not going to have everything in there. Look at, Harry Potter, for example. But with this film, most of the stuff was in there. Now, they brushed over a lot of stuff because in the book, it takes like some chapters to figure stuff out. But obviously in the movie, you got to kind of keep it running. And the stuff they did add in the movie was really, really good. And I'll get into that in the spoiler section. But I just really want to praise everything right now. The score, fantastic. I feel like the score is kind of slept on when people are talking about this film because we have one of the best cinematographers of our time. We have Ryan Gosling giving a career best performance almost, in my opinion. You have Rocky, who looks real and steals the show. You have great visual effects. You have great props and sets. I mean, so obviously, just to me, everything's firing on all cylinders here. The story and at the core, Rocky and Grace's relationship is good, and that's what we needed. We needed that relationship to hit because that is the core of the whole story. If their relationship wasn't believable or it wasn't good or Rocky looked weird or sounded weird, the movie would have flopped no matter what. And I'm so glad they got that part right. A lot of book readers were pissed when the trailer came out and they showed Rocky because in the book, Rocky just comes out of nowhere. But also in the book, he comes early on. He comes I forgot what, really early on in the book. And like Ryan Gosling said, it would have been like releasing a trailer for E.T. without E.T. And it's like the parents are getting a divorce. Like, Rocky is Project Hail Mary. He is the supporting actor. So, and again, I'm not going to say it until we get to spoilers, but there are very big twists that happen in this story that no one would expect to happen towards the end. And that is the meat of the story. And that is like the twist and all that and the stuff to figure out, like not Rocky. But yes, guys, I mean, this whole movie is just phenomenal. I already cannot wait to see it again. I have so many thoughts going on right now. I mean, the emotional scenes hit. Like I said, Ryan Gosling delivers. There's a couple scenes where he finds out some stuff, and he just really gives a raw performance. Rocky's voice and puppeteering is just phenomenal. Like, you almost believe he's real. It's like when you watch Sinners, and Michael B. Jordan was so good at playing Smoke and Stack. Like, sometimes you forget it's the same guy playing him. It's like that, where Rocky just felt so real. Their connection was so good, and you could just tell they care for each other so much. And as you know, Ryland Grace is a character who doesn't really have much on Earth. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have a love life. He's kind of alone, and he doesn't know a purpose. And he finally finds a purpose in Rocky, and Rocky kind of reinvigorates him. And just their connection is so good. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. The cinematography, fantastic. It's Greg Fraser, right? Batman, Dune. I mean, all these other films. I'm pretty sure he did Blade Runner 2049. He is one of, if not the best cinematographer right now of our time. And I could easily see him taking the award home for this film. I do think this film's going to be an award contender. I don't know what for yet. Maybe Best Picture. Again, there's a lot. This year is going to be very busy for Best Picture. We have this film. We have The Odyssey. We have Dune 3. You know, we have a lot of films coming out this year that could take this. But I could easily see cinematography, as of right now, going to Project Hail Mary. Obviously, it's only March, almost April. But it's great. There's a scene where they get to this planet, and if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And I knew when I read the book, I was like, if they get this right, it's gonna be very good. It's gonna be up there with the docking scene in Interstellar. Let's talk about that for a second. Obviously, this is the best sci-fi book. This is like the best sci-fi movie of the past decade. Dune is probably the only other one that you could really argue, but for me, it's going to be this one because I really just have a connection with this story, and I really think this movie just really did it well. The comparisons are going to come out to Interstellar because, as you know, Interstellar, at least in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people's opinion, Interstellar is one of, if not the best sci-fi film of the century so far. It is one of my favorite films. I think it's going to be my first tattoo. I adore Interstellar, but I feel like it's unfair to kind of compare them. Okay, it's space movies, right? But they're just so different. Interstellar's a little more serious because, you know, it's like, I'm not saying this movie isn't serious, but, you know, it's about how love transcends time and the messages it's sending, and, you know, what happens in that film it feels different because this one's almost like a buddy like road trip almost. I mean, you have Rocky and Grace, and a lot of the time it's funny, but again, when it hits, it does hit sad emotionally, and it hits you right in the gut. And it's just a different type of film because they're trying to, like, obviously both movies you're trying to save Earth and stuff, but it's really hard to explain. So I don't like really comparing them because I do think Interstellar is better. If you ask me gun to my head, you know, which movie do you like better? I think Interstellar is a little better, but this film is the best sci-fi film of the past 10 years, easily. Cinematography is great. I feel like the soundtrack and the score is great. I feel like the score isn't talked about as much when people are talking about this film, just because the other things are like everything is just firing on all cylinders, right? The cinematography and the acting in Rocky, it's himself is what really gets talked about the most, rightfully so, because that's like the big points. But the score is very slept on, and it's very, very good. I can't wait to watch it again just to really dig into the score. It's funny because when I watched this film, I was on edge. I already knew it was going to happen, but it's like, oh my God, I was like on edge because, again, maybe they were going to change some stuff, but no. And yeah, just the sets. If you haven't heard, they didn't use a single green screen in this whole film. I think they used like the volume and stuff, but a lot of it was practical. Rocky was practical. I'm pretty sure the whole Hail Mary itself was practical, and you can really feel it. It feels lived in. It feels like when Grace is like going around pressing these buttons or trying to like eject something or going on a spacewalk, like it really just feels like he's actually doing all these things. And yeah, the comedy is great. I was laughing my ass off in this film. There are some things that some people may not like. I know my friend had a differing opinion with me when it came to Ryan Gosling as Grace, because there were some scenes where maybe it's a little serious and he's doing like this high-pitched scream to get laughs, and it did get a lot of laughs. But I could see how that, because in the book, Grace is a tad more serious, but I still think they give him these moments where he is serious, and it's good enough. I do want to talk about some spoilers quick, guys, though. The whole Adrian, so there's two scenes that really were like crazy. One was the scene where in the book it's just simple as him going outside to get a little thing of astrophage, but in the movie they made it way more visual, which they had this Petrova scope where if they turn it on you can see the astrophage, and it goes from regular looking to pink, and it's just pink all around Ryland, and the score is swelling, and that was one of the best scenes. I mean, I was in IMAX and I was just floored. And the other one is, if you've read the book or if you've seen the movie, the Adrian scene where they have to fish, they call it fishing, lower it into the atmosphere and pull it up, and then they have to escape the atmosphere, and then they basically go into like a death spin because something is like pushing their ship or whatever. That is the scene I was talking about, where in the book I was so anxious reading that, and in the movie I still was, and that was the scene that I mentioned earlier, that if they get that right, that could be one of the best sci-fi scenes in recent memory. And 100% agree. I think it is. And just the ending, I'm so glad. Again, this is going to be spoilers for the book as well, but I'm so glad they kept the ending. The ending to this story is so unique and so fulfilling, because going into this film, I went with two people who haven't seen it. And they were both like, well, so one of them's gonna die. Obviously, people who go to this film like without seeing the book, it's gonna look like Rocky's gonna die, or Grace is gonna die, or someone's gonna die. It's gonna be sad, but no, as you know, that doesn't happen, and it actually is just a choice. You know, they both do what they had to do, and they leave, and that's really sad. Again, look at Guardians of the Galaxy 3, for example. Going into that film, everyone's like, well, one of the Guardians is going to die. And James Gunn killed no Guardians, and it was still very emotional. And I feel like you don't have to kill characters to get emotion. And I feel like if you pull it off the right way, it works. And in this way, it does. As you know, like Grace and Rocky are going back home after fixing it, and it was a really sad goodbye. But then Grace finds out that the astrophage can like eat through the hull and stuff, and Rocky's ship is made out of this material that it can eat through. So Grace decides either I can go home and let Rocky die, or I can go save Rocky and I won't be getting home. So he ends up going to save Rocky, and as you know, if you read the book or if you've seen the movie, it ends with Rylan living on Rocky's planet, and he's teaching little Iridians, like little tiny rock Iridians, and it was really cute, and it's such a good way to end the book, and no one ever sees it coming, and I'm so glad they kept that. I just can't talk enough about this movie, guys. I mean, I've been hyping it up for so long, and the fact that it's here and it's getting this recognition, and it just came at a point in my life where I needed to get away for a bit, and obviously now that I'm back in real life, I still have all this stuff I'm going through, but the fact that I can talk about this film and think about it really helps alleviate some of the pain I go through. And yeah, go watch this movie, guys. And even if you've already read it or if you've watched it, if you've read it, definitely see it. If you haven't read it and you saw it and you like it, go read the book. The book, it's literally just like the movie, but there's still little scenes. That's a good thing I wanted to bring up too. The scenes that were added in the film, I think, were great, especially with Strat. So Strat in the book, is very cold, she is in the movie too, and you don't get any scenes of her with really emotional scenes. You don't get a lot of scenes with her like being a human almost, because she's just really trying to fix this problem. And in the movie, they had two very key scenes that I liked. One was her and Grace on like the deck of the ship, and they're just talking, and there was I don't know if it was in that moment, but there was a really good conversation where he asked like, do you believe in God? And I thought it was going to be played for laughs. I'm a Catholic, but I don't mind if you joke about it, like, you know, because I'm the type where, you know, let's just joke about everything, like how South Park does it. But usually, like in movies, when you mention like God or something, it'll be like a diss or something. But her answer just really hit, and it really like made you realize who this character is. She said, I believe in God, and he's like, oh, like why or whatever, and she's like, because I'm scared of the alternative, which is, you know, nothing. And there's two other scenes actually. The other one is, you saw it in the trailer, where they're at a karaoke and they're all singing on deck, all these characters, and Grace is just seeing all these characters get in relationships, and he just doesn't understand why, when he knows that some of these people are sacrificing themselves, and he's really going through that. He's like, why would you do that? And she ends up going up there and singing Sign of the Times for everyone, and I just got chills thinking about it, because it is a very emotional scene, and you could really tell just how all these people are in it together, and just seeing her do that was cool. And another thing, the last thing they added too, which you don't see in the book. So in the book, you never see Earth again minus the flashbacks. The only confirmation that we get that Grace's mission worked was that when Grace is back on Arid with Rocky and all that, Rocky says like they checked the sun, and the sun is back to like a normal light, like his sun. So that means it worked. In the movie, we get a scene of Strat 20 years later, and she looks much older, and she's on a boat in the middle of an ice field. So it's already showing that, like, you know, the world has been affected by the sun problem. And she's watching all the videos Grace sent, and she just looks very emotional. And in the scenes where they were talking, like, I don't know if they were hinting at it, but there was like a strong hint that like in another life these two kind of get along. You have a feeling that like Strat does have like admiration for Grace and would even see him that way. But I just really like these scenes that were added. And like I said, there were a lot of scenes that they just kind of dimmed down a little bit. I think, and I agree with my friend Casey here, in the book, him finding out he's in space it's one of the first things he does. But like, because, you know, he wakes up and he doesn't know where he's at. In the movie, there's just a window, and he looks and he finds out he's in space. And I get it, and I think it worked for the movie, but I think it was way cooler in the book, him like having to do kind of like math and shit to figure out that he's like floating. He's not underwater. He thinks he's underwater at first, like he doesn't know where he's at, and then he finds out he's in space. And The other scene is where towards the end of the book, he's like, okay, well, I need to make sure that this bacteria we found that can help solve our problem doesn't get killed by nitrogen. So he has to keep breeding it to be, susceptible to nitrogen. But he inadvertently makes it be able to break through like the stuff it was holding, and that's how he saves Rocky and all that. But in the book, it's like a really like you go into the math and stuff. But in the movie, obviously, you don't really need to do that. So he kind of glosses over it, which I think is fine as well. But I really do think this movie, the main things, like it's a really faithful adaptation, and I think everything that needed to be good is great, and everything that could have been mid and still made the movie good is great. The movie's a 10 out of 10, guys. That's me being biased. I don't care. Like, go watch it. I genuinely, like, this is what I wanted in the movie, and I just got that and more, and I cannot wait to see it again. Let me know what you guys think down below. Have you seen it? Have you read it? Let me know what you guys think of both. And, guys, we got some big stuff coming on. I don't know. When you go through stuff in life, I'll make an update video. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it's been Joey. Until next time. See you later.